Welcome back to Us Mint Mysteries. Today, we're diving into a shocking question. Could that old, beat-up Lincoln Memorial penny in your pocket change actually be worth a fortune? Most people toss these coins aside, thinking they're only worth a cent. But hidden among the ordinary are ultra-rare pennies, even in bad condition, that could change your life. Some of these coins have sold for jaw-dropping amounts. We're talking in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and even more. You won't believe what makes them so valuable, and by the end of this video, you'll be checking every penny you own. So stay tuned, because these discoveries could be sitting right in your change jar. The first coin on our list might surprise you, because at first glance, it looks like nothing special. The 1990 Lincoln Memorial penny, especially in rough or bad condition, is a coin many people would simply overlook. But here's where the story takes a shocking twist. Some of these 1990 pennies have secrets that make collectors' hearts race and wallets open wide. Now, in 1990, the U.S. Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents. They were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with the familiar memorial reverse that had been used since 1959. Most of these coins are worth just face value, and in worn, circulated shape they usually look dull, scratched, and completely ordinary. But here's what most people don't realize. A very small number of these 1990 pennies were struck with the wrong die, a proof die that should have only been used for collector coins from the San Francisco Mint. These are known as the 1990 No-S proof Lincoln cents. And when discovered, they created an uproar in the coin collecting world. Imagine picking up a dirty, scratched penny in bad condition, only to find out it might actually be one of these legendary varieties. Even well-circulated examples can fetch shocking amounts at auction. Regular worn 1990 pennies might only bring a few dollars if they have a small error. But a genuine 1990 No-S proof, even if handled or less than perfect, can still be worth tens of thousands. In pristine condition, they've crossed the $50,000 mark. Now, let that sink in. A 1-cent coin, minted within our lifetimes, selling for more than a brand new luxury car. But the story doesn't end there. Collectors also look for off-center strikes, double dies, and clipped planchets on 1990 cents. Even in rough shape, an obvious minting error can push the value from pennies to hundreds, sometimes thousands. A heavily circulated 1990 penny with a dramatic off-center strike once shocked bidders by selling for over $5,000. And uncirculated examples with major errors? Those can leap into the 5-figure range with ease. So, how can you identify one of these valuable 1990 pennies? Start by looking at the mint mark. The ultra-rare No-S proof variety is missing its S. It should not exist outside of proof sets, but a few slipped out, and that's where the fortune lies. Even if your coin is in bad condition, the missing mint mark could mean life-changing value. Always check for doubling on Lincoln's date and lettering, and watch for unusual edges or striking errors. Think about this: that coffee can of old pennies in your garage, those coins you've ignored for decades, could be hiding a coin that collectors would fight over. A coin that could bring in $10,000, $20,000, even up to $75,000 in top condition. That's the kind of shock value that keeps coin hunters digging. And the best part, nobody expects the 1990 penny to be worth much. That means people overlook it, spend it, or throw it into coin jars, completely unaware of its potential. Which is exactly why you should be checking every single one. Because even if yours is scratched, dull, and worn, if it carries that rare variety or dramatic error, it could change everything. Next up, we step back to the 1970s, a time when the U.S. Mint was experimenting, and a few coins slipped through the cracks that today are worth shocking amounts of money. At first glance, the 1974 Lincoln Memorial penny looks like just another well-worn cent. Maybe it's turned dark or black from years of circulation. With that distinctive patina, coins often pick up from age, moisture, or handling. But what lies beneath that surface could make this coin one of the most valuable pieces in your pocket change. The 1974 penny was struck in huge numbers, more than 4 billion of them across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. Most were made of the same copper alloy used for decades, and in fine condition, the average 1974 penny is only worth a cent or two above face value. But here's where things get jaw-dropping. A few experimental pennies from 1974 were struck in aluminum instead of copper. These aluminum test cents were never supposed to be released, yet a handful escaped the mint, and when one of them surfaces, collectors absolutely lose their minds. Imagine this in 2014. A single 1974 aluminum Lincoln cent went to auction, and even though it wasn't in perfect condition, it carried a value of nearly $250,000. That's right. A coin most people would mistake for pocket change sold for $250,000. And estimates suggest that in the right circumstances, one of these aluminum pennies could sell for even more, pushing into the $450,000 range or higher. Now, not every 1974 penny is struck in aluminum, of course, but even the regular copper ones can hide treasures. Double die errors on the date and lettering, off-center strikes, or coins struck on the wrong planchet are worth looking for. A dramatic double die penny from 1974 in fine condition can easily reach $2,000 to $5,000 at auction. Uncirculated examples with bold errors, those can climb into the tens of thousands, with record-breaking sales topping 40,000. The black penny look you sometimes see on coins from this era is usually the result of toning, oxidation, or environmental damage. While the dark color itself doesn't automatically make a penny valuable, collectors do pay close attention to unusual surfaces, because sometimes that black appearance can hide rare varieties beneath. That's why every coin deserves a closer look under good lighting or magnification. Think of it this way. The average person will look at a dark, old 1974 penny and see something worthless. But a sharp-eyed collector knows better. That coin, in fine condition, may be tarnished, maybe dark, could actually be one of the most exciting finds of your life. If it's an aluminum strike, or if it carries a rare error, it could transform from pocket change into a life-changing payday. So next time you see a 1974 penny that looks odd, darker than usual, or simply out of place, don't dismiss it. Flip it over, study it closely, and compare the weight if you can. Because while most weigh about 3.1 grams, the aluminum version weighs only about 1 gram. That tiny difference could mean a fortune. Collectors dream of discovering these coins in the wild, and some already have. That's why people keep checking their change, because stories like this prove that a single penny, even one that looks dull or blackened, might be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that is exactly what makes the 1974 penny one of the most shocking and mysterious coins in U.S. history. Moving forward, we land on the 1975 Lincoln Memorial penny, a coin that, to most people, looks utterly worthless, especially when it's damaged, scratched, or worn nearly beyond recognition. But don't be fooled by appearances. Sometimes the most beat-up coins hide the most jaw-dropping surprises. The 1975 penny is another copper cent, struck in massive numbers, more than 5 billion across Philadelphia and Denver. On the surface, it seems impossible that such a common coin could be worth anything more than a cent. But here's where things take a wild turn. Certain 1975 pennies contain dramatic errors that make collectors sit up in shock. And even in heavily damaged condition, these mistakes can mean huge value. One of the most famous errors linked to this era is the 1975 off-metal strike. A small number of pennies were accidentally struck on dime planchets, smaller, thinner blanks intended for Roosevelt dimes. These coins came out undersized, missing part of their design, and today, they are among the most sought-after Lincoln-era coins. Even a damaged 1975 penny with this mistake can sell for thousands. In pristine condition, one sold for over $40,000 at auction. Another rarity from this year is the double die obverse, where Lincoln's date, motto, or lettering shows clear doubling. While not as common as some other years, these dramatic errors can command shocking values, anywhere from $5,000 in circulated grades to more than $30,000 in high mint state. Yes, even a damaged coin with obvious doubling could bring serious cash, because collectors prize rarity over perfection. And then there are the off-center strikes. A 1975 penny struck wildly off-center, say, with half the design missing, is a sight to behold. Collectors love dramatic errors like this, and damaged or not, a coin like that can reach into the thousands. One heavily circulated off-center 1975 penny shocked bidders when it sold for over $10,000. What makes this even more exciting is that the 1975 penny exists right before one of the biggest changes in U.S. coinage, the switch to copper-plated zinc in 1982. Collectors know this, and they hunt for errors from the mid-1970s because they represent the end of an era for solid copper coins. Now, here's the wow factor. While the average, normal, damaged 1975 penny is worth almost nothing, if you find one of these rare errors, you could be looking at life-changing money. Imagine pulling a penny from a change jar dented, scratched, discolored, only to discover it's one of the extremely rare off-metal strikes or dramatic misprints. That single coin could be worth $25,000, $50,000, or even upwards of $100,000 if it's the right variety. The lesson here is simple. Never ignore a penny just because it looks damaged. In the world of coin collecting, damage doesn't erase rarity. Sometimes, damage is what hides a fortune from plain sight. And that's exactly why the 1975 Lincoln penny deserves a closer look, because what seems like worthless pocket change could, in fact, be a hidden treasure that leaves you in total disbelief. Now, let's move into the bicentennial year 1976. Most collectors immediately think of the special bicentennial quarters, halves, and dollars that carried the famous dual date 1776-1976. But what many people overlook is the humble Lincoln Memorial penny from that same year. At first glance, especially in bad condition and with a black, dark-toned surface, it looks like nothing but a tired old cent. Yet hidden among these coins are some shocking rarities that can turn a penny into a small fortune. The 1976 Lincoln penny was struck in huge numbers, with billions leaving the mint in Philadelphia and Denver. Unlike the quarter, half, and dollar, the cent was not redesigned for the bicentennial. It carried the same obverse of Lincoln and the familiar memorial reverse. But here's where things get interesting. A small number of 1976 pennies came out with major minting errors that collectors are willing to pay thousands, even tens of thousands to own. One of the most dramatic is the off-metal strike. Some 1976 cents were struck on dime or foreign coin planchets by mistake. These error coins are thinner, lighter, and often missing part of the design. Even in bad, blackened condition, these can bring in shocking prices. A damaged 1976 penny struck on the wrong planchet once stunned bidders when it sold for over $25,000. Then we have the double die errors, especially noticeable on the date or the phrase, "In God We Trust." While not as widely publicized as the famous 1955 or 1969 doubles, the 1976 double dies still command huge attention. Even circulated examples can bring $3,000 to $5,000, and mint state coins are far higher, with some selling above $20,000. But here's a twist that gets even more exciting. Many collectors chase unusual surface colors, especially the dark, black-toned pennies. While environmental damage is often the cause, sometimes these odd colors appear because of unusual minting conditions, chemical reactions, or even planchet impurities. A black or oddly toned 1976 penny that also carries a rare error could bring bidders into a frenzy. The color makes it stand out, and collectors love anything unique. Now think about this. You pull a dark, ugly penny from a handful of change, and your first instinct is to toss it aside. But then you notice something odd. Maybe the design looks off-center, maybe the date looks doubled, or maybe the weight feels wrong. Suddenly, that worthless, black penny is no longer ordinary. Instead, it could be worth $50,000, $75,000, or even six figures in the right auction. The wow factor here is undeniable. A coin from the year of America's bicentennial, a coin that millions overlooked, could be hiding in plain sight with a value most people wouldn't believe. and the darker, damaged coins are often ignored, which means those are the very ones most likely to slip through unnoticed, waiting for someone sharp-eyed enough to recognize their true worth. So never dismiss a blackened, ugly, or worn-out penny from 1976, because what looks like trash to one person could be a national treasure to another. That's the thrill of coin hunting, and that's what makes this year's Lincoln cent one of the most shocking discoveries of all. And finally, we arrive at the coin that might just leave you speechless. The 1972 Lincoln Memorial Penny. At first, it looks harmless enough. A common cent from Denver, maybe with a dark or black shade from years of use, sitting in fine condition. Most people would never give it a second glance. But what if I told you that this very coin, hidden in plain sight, could be worth an amount so shocking it almost feels impossible? The 1972 penny is famous among collectors for one reason: the double die obverse. The Philadelphia Mint produced one of the most legendary doubling errors in U.S. history that year. On those coins, you can clearly see doubling in the date, in the words "Liberty," and especially in God We Trust. The doubling is bold and dramatic, the kind that even a casual observer could spot without a magnifying glass. These coins have stunned collectors for decades, with values soaring into the tens of thousands. Now, the Denver Mint, marked with a D, also produced billions of pennies in 1972. And while the boldest double dies are from Philadelphia, rare varieties and striking errors from Denver can still be worth jaw-dropping sums. Off-center strikes, dramatic misaligned dies, and clipped planchets are highly collectible. Even in fine condition, a 1972 error coin can bring $2,000, $5,000, even up to $15,000, depending on the severity of the mistake. And mint state examples with rare errors have been known to push well beyond $50,000. Here's where the excitement grows. The black shade you sometimes see on these pennies from toning, age, or environmental exposure makes them look worthless. But imagine if beneath that darkened surface is one of the most famous double dies in American coin history. Think about the shock of realizing that a penny you thought was only good for a gumble could instead be worth $150,000, $250,000, or even higher if authenticated and sold to the right collector. That's the kind of life-changing discovery people dream of. Collectors in their 50s, 60 seconds, and 70 seconds often remember these stories firsthand. Stories of people pulling rare 1972 double-die pennies straight from circulation, back when they were still new. Those discoveries sparked national headlines, and to this day, the thrill of the hunt continues. And what's even more unbelievable is that examples are still out there, waiting to be found. So, how do you know if your 1972 penny is special? First, check the date and lettering carefully under good light. Look for bold doubling, especially on the words, "In God We Trust." If the coin is off-center, missing parts of the design, or looks unusually thick or thin, that could also be a valuable error. And remember, condition matters, but rarity matters even more. A dark, black-shaded penny in fine condition can still command breathtaking value if it carries the right mistake. Now imagine this scene. You're holding that 1972 penny in your hand. It's surface worn and dark, ready to spend it without a thought. But then you notice something unusual, and suddenly, your heart starts racing. Could this be the one? Could this penny actually be worth more than most people's homes? That moment of disbelief, that jolt of pure excitement, that's the magic of coin collecting. And that's why the 1972 Lincoln Memorial Penny closes our list with such a bang. Because out of the ordinary, the overlooked, and the forgotten, comes a story of a coin so rare and so valuable that it transforms what we think we know about pocket change forever.